town board. I am going to jump around a little. I've got a number of topics to discuss. And one I didn't have on there, but Sean Bakai from Archtop has joined us, and I do have a resolution on there regarding leasing some property to them. So Sean, do you want to take a minute and just talk about the arrangement that you proposed that we worked with back and forth, and the necessity, why is this necessary? So actually, I'm going to give you this mic, and if you maybe just go to either corner and you can kind of direct forward to us and the public.
Great.
Thanks for coming.
Is this thing on?
It's on. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, I'm Sean Bakai. I'm one of the founders of Archtop Fiber. It's been, I think a little over a year since we were last in this room talking about our plans to build a competitive internet provider, a fiber-based competitive internet provider, really across the Hudson Valley, coming down from Albany on both sides of the Hudson River and then across over to Hancock, New York. We are local. I live here. Live in Rhinebeck. Our offices are at the iPark facility, the old IBM facility in Kingston. We were the first company to move in there. We just passed 100 employees.
Wow.
And
did you say you were all the way up to Albany?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Hudson, Catskill, and into the Albany suburbs.
Okay. Fantastic.
And we
how far south?
all the way to Orange County, Warwick, New York. We're constructing in Warwick. We're constructing in Ulster and Kingston and Saugerties and Rhinebeck and all over. We have roughly 3,000 miles of fiber to build. It's a approximately $300 million project. And the permitting process has taken significantly longer and been significantly more expensive with Central Hudson Gas and Electric than we had anticipated. But we are now sort of accelerating into the build, and where we have lit, the take rate has been very well received, let's say. So that's a general sort of overview. We'd like to start constructing here in Woodstock, as we promised a year ago that we would. As part of that process, our network is, as I said, a fiber optic based network, which is all glass. It's all dielectric. It doesn't require electricity beyond the light generating units. It's basically very, very thin, size of a human hair, really pieces of glass that run around. What it does require is a site for those servers and routers and light generating units, what we call optical light generating units, to basically turn the internet into glass pulses, to light pulses, and then back. And it's a relatively small, relatively light use. And so we were looking for, often we will co-locate within other, what we call points of presence or internet locations. And as you would imagine, they're not that thick on the ground in Woodstock, New York. So we found a closet, essentially, with some catering equipment in it. And the supervisor was good enough to sort of walk us around and look for a place that we could find that geographically was in the center of the town, so we could serve the entire region, close enough to transport fiber that goes through the town, so we can get onto the main, so we can hook up to all of the other areas. This large project has roughly a dozen of these points of presence around our network, every 20 kilometers or so. So it's good for the town to have one of these in the center of it, because it becomes a nexus point for, it's got redundant fiber in it, so it's more stable. And
so the 20 kilometers is going to, in the center there, is going to cover
yes,
every part of Woodstock.
We'd be able to reach every part of Woodstock, yes. And so we proposed to be able to use this. We opened the closet. It was sort of charming, actually. We opened the door and there were cobwebs and some old glasses and sort of crates of things. We thought, well, this is perfect. So, over the last month or so, we've been talking to the town, to the supervisor, and came up with a plan to provide free internet service at a location of the town's choosing in perpetuity. And we would take on all of the expense of retrofitting and upgrading that location. And it's really just putting a computer server rack in this closet with some access to the outside and some work with the electric utility to get power into that location. And there's quite a bit of urgency actually to get started. So we would very much appreciate if we could begin this. And I'm happy to take any questions. I know there were some questions about radio frequency emissions from the equipment.
Actually, Laura had that.
And I'm happy to talk about that. It's actually a really, really great question for us because we use 1/60th the electricity of cable plant. They need a power supply every 150 feet or so. We can go 20 kilometers with our light. So we don't have any RF, as we call it, a radio frequency emitting.
Okay.
Cable.
So there's no radiation, there's no risk of radiation.
Zero.
Zero.
It's all
Okay.
dielectric plant. There's no electricity, never mind radio
Yeah.
frequencies.
And the other question would be noise. I think this closet you found is not really next to anything. It's kind of in the garage. But I didn't know
is.
whether there's going to be a noise, could there be a noise issue for people that are working in the building?
It's a computer rack, so there are cooling fans on this, but it'll be behind doors. It would really surprise me if you could hear it through the door.
So maybe no louder than that fan.
No,
for
it would
the
be
AC.
significantly quieter than, say, a mini split unit.
Okay.
If you,
But in the event that noise were an issue, there would be a way to deaden the sound in the walls.
of course,
So
yeah.
that could be added in.
Yeah.
We could put-
Solid
we could put
soundproof
insulation
doors,
on the
sound
outside.
attenuation materials on the walls.
Oh, hold on. It's the board. Maria-Elena?
Where is this exactly going to be, or you have to choose a location?
Well, we have to choose a location for them to provide the internet, and I would recommend here because we're the biggest internet user with the biggest problem since our internet comes in through the woods.
So it'll be here at Como.
The building that they provided the service for, the unit that would be placed down in the police station.
Mhm.
So if you're familiar, if you look at the building from the street, on the left-hand side are the garages.
Mhm.
At the far back corner is a closet presently that's about 4x4.
Okay.
There's a door on the inside, but they would not, that door would be sealed up by the town. And they would install a door on the outside so that they could have full access without having access to our building,
Right.
the rest of our building.
Okay.
So.
And this is actually a fairly common practice around that. We've built many thousands of miles in states, from Montana to all the way down to Santiago, Chile. So this kind of thing is, municipalities tend to like it because it gives us a point of presence in the building. So you have access to the very best service.
Bennett, did you have any?
I want to go back to this question about the free internet service at a location of the town's choosing. Would it be like a free Wi-Fi so that like people could come and use the Wi-Fi? Or is it, or are you saying that it's the fiber that's going to go into whatever that location is, and then wherever that location is, it's going to be free of charge?
It will be Wi-Fi, but it won't be what I would call a carrier grade municipal deployment. So the Wi-Fi would be the same Wi-Fi we provide small and medium-sized businesses. So it's a Wi-Fi radio that would serve, and we could add extenders around. But what that doesn't have, there are commercial grade Wi-Fi deployments that are both interior and exterior that have much higher radio frequency things. And we can elect to do that and then put what we call a front page on that. So if you were to sign in, you could have people authenticate that,
But that would be something we would have to decide where the location was, and then work with you to figure out if that was going to be it, or if it was going to be just within a building.
Doing a closed Wi-Fi for the use of the township, we would provide.
Right.
A bigger municipal free Wi-Fi service to all of the users of this beautiful location, down to that is possible, but there would be cost for those radios.
So let me ask you something, because at one point in our conversations, you mentioned something about the possibility, or at least I thought you did, of providing free Wi-Fi in different town locations that you would get advertising for. Something along those lines?
Yes, what we often do, and what we would love to do with the town of Woodstock, given the amount of traffic through the town, how beautiful it is, how it's sort of so central to our build, would be provide free Wi-Fi to a park or an area of concentration that the town would find, and we would provide that and put a splash page up
Right.
where people would say, oh, you can get, Archtop Wi-Fi here and it's free. And they would authenticate and the craven corporate interests that we are, we would send them, if you live in town and you'd like our service, but it would be free Wi-Fi in a township park or.
So that's a separate conversation.
That's a separate conversation, but
Be
I
happy.
can commit to a yes. As a founder, I can commit to a yes that we would be happy to do that in a location of your choosing.
Might be nice to have that done on the Village Green.
I think so, yeah. Where you guys have that wonderful.
Andy Lee. Yeah. Okay. So that's a conversation to be had. Anulit, or,
But I did have.
okay, I'll come back to you. Go ahead. Anulit, did you have?
Yes. So the servers get hot. The weather is getting hotter. Is the closet going to be cool enough in summer months? And are you going to need to add servers such that you're going to have to put an air conditioning in there at some point in time?
We would be putting climate control. There you have these units that fit in the racks that cool the servers and cool the space. So we would be adding a cooling unit in that closet.
Okay.
They're also bringing in their own electric service. So they're not plugging into our outlet there.
You read my mind.
Okay.
Okay. And then a follow-up to who's paying for the electric, the maintenance. So servers need to be secure. You're going to need to maintain those. So what is the idea behind allowing people or authorized people to go into, let's call it our town data room or data server room? Who can go in and support that?
They won't be going. So if I could answer that. So this is going to be this is going to be isolated from the rest of the building. There'll be a door on the outside. If you go to the back corner facing the stream, they'll install a small door there that they will have access to. We won't have access to theirs. They won't have access to us.
So the organization is going to have some approved list of maintenance and support people. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's not a high traffic area, with our network tends to be very stable.
Okay. Because you
and-
could take down the whole town's Wi-Fi, right? So from a security perspective, if we're going to have that in our closet, often data server rooms have authorized personnel who go in and out. And so I just want to make sure that that's been thought about and that you have the support to let us know. Maybe we might want to know who's going in and out, or lock it, like make sure that there's some mechanisms to lock that up.
Terrific question, and I'm happy to bore everybody to tears with the various tiers of security required. If we had third-party services, like we were co-loing or
Right.
joint using other providers, we would have to have a higher tier. If there were HIPAA or financial requirements, it jacks it up.
Yeah.
This would be one of the lower tiers of security.
Okay.
However, we have a system called Verkada, which is a very, very
I'm familiar with
sophisticated
that.
alarm system, and key swipe system, which tracks who goes in and out, has very, very specific authorizations for entry. We could provide, I would be comfortable providing the police department, let's say,
Yeah.
a Verkada swipe, so they could, we would know when they would go in and out. Plus, we would put a camera in the facility,
Okay.
and all of the maintenance would be prescribed by you, and we would, for painting necessary.
Perfect.
We often do that.
Okay. Thank
The
you.
grass, things
Yep.
like that.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, getting back to the free location. So the Wi-Fi here, and it would be just Wi-Fi. I mean, I know that if I'm Spectrum, I can have Wi-Fi, I can have phone, and I can have TV, but you're just providing the Wi-Fi piece, correct?
We're providing 1 gig internet, which no one else can provide you.
Yeah, okay. So as you provide the Wi-Fi in one location, so if it goes here, there's actually 2 buildings, but both buildings would benefit from the Wi-Fi ability.
It's all interconnected.
So it all
Right.
is, so by doing this location, we're talking about the both buildings. And I'm not as worried about the question about who can access, because, if you know the code, when you come here and sit in this room, you just hook into the Wi-Fi, and I'm expecting that's what we're saying. If somebody's coming and within this building or the other building, they'll be able to access the Wi-Fi as long as they have the code. So
That is
that seems pretty straightforward to me. So, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? All right, I'll take a couple of questions.
But this doesn't provide Wi-Fi for us in our homes.
We will be building out the entire community as a competitive service. So if you have Spectrum Internet right now,
Yeah,
you would be able to elect to use our service,
okay,
which is roughly, can be as much as 10 times as up to 10 gig. So they're roughly 700 or 800 megabytes.
yeah,
We would provide up to 10 gig. Our premier service is a solid gig. And we would have Wi-Fi radios in your home, but it would be the same relationship that you have with any other internet service provider.
and this is a paid service or
It
it's
is.
all free?
No, it's a paid service, just like Spectrum, but faster and cheaper.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, it's cheaper.
Significantly cheaper, $69 for the flagship service and cheaper for slower speeds.
And faster.
Yes, ma'am. No, we're all what's called facilities based. So that, yeah, so we would be getting from that closet to your home via fiber optics, either up on the telephone poles or underground.
You're dealing with 5G, right?
No, 5G is a cellular wireless service. That's the RF that she was talking about, the radiation. Ours is all light down a very, very microscopic tube from, from that closet to your home.
So you don't, so wires throughout. How are you efficient sending out cables?
He's been doing it for a year and boy, are his arms tired. Like we're stringing a lot of fiber. We have, if you go behind our building in Kingston, you will see roughly $20 million worth of spools of fiber optics, which are being deployed all over the region.
Now, is it individual home?
No, we don't charge an installation.
Alicia.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you considered the Root-wide version building, since when that was a investment firm, it seems that they had already a large trunk fiber optic.
They do. They have services actually. There is fiber coming through town by a firm called Crown Castle. And Crown Castle has contracts just like we would have contracts with certain educational institutions. It's a program called E-Rate, which provides, and we actually partner with Crown Castle. The internet ecosystem is one of interconnected networks across the entire world. So Crown Castle is a partner of ours, a provider of ours. We provide them service, but it has nothing to do with that from a network perspective. They are, as I said, a partner. It's a fairly complex array of agreements that we all manage to live and work together.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Believe it or not, I walked out without cards because we were running a little late, but and we have a fairly, yeah, and our website, and so you can call Tom or myself, or stop by in Kingston, or signs on the door. Say hello.
Okay, unless there's any objections. Oh, a couple more questions.
Couple more questions.
Carol?
Yeah,
Yes.
we didn't have cable, before when I came to this town. And they wouldn't put it in until a certain number of people on the road subscribed to it. Satellite dishes that go backwards. Are you gonna, somebody break at the end of Silver Hollow, fiber optic on the way for customers?
I can't commit to Silver Hollow Road specifically because I'm not
No,
that local,
I just.
but
mentioned that as
I have shared with the town our strand map to show where we are, and it sounds familiar.
Yeah, I believe we are, our plan is to try to connect as much as possible. And knowing that most of the areas,
It's not gonna be like when cable company came in and said, no, we don't have that people, whatever.
That's never been our practice.
You guys are running it and then hooking up people. You've got your plan, you've got your layout. Okay. Hold on one second. There was a,
Yeah.
I'll get to you, John.
What happens when there's an electrical?
Another great question. We use, our system tends to stay up when there is a general pattern. Now, obviously, the devices in the closet, historically, we put a generator on them. And so since we don't require municipal or commercial power at each location, 150, every 150 feet in our network, we tend to stay up when cable goes down. Now, it's a big complex network, and if it goes down in one area and there's a device, you know, nobody's happy when there's an electric outage, but we tend to be last ones to go down, first ones to come back up. At this location, but not, and your home would need electricity to power your Wi-Fi device, but the network itself has no electricity in it. Correct.
We will have a generator, a portable generator would be brought in. Yeah, because of the room constraints, we're gonna build a plug there and then have a portable that. This is monitored, the system is monitored, so. It is,
Yeah. Yeah, we have something called a network operation center, where we have full-time monitoring. Right? And we monitor it to the location. So if your house goes down, we get an alarm.
Michael?
Bill, you mentioned something about power lines coming out of the woods. I thought
We buried the electric, not the cable.
electric. So is he gonna be able to utilize the run?
They have a trenching system.
They're gonna do another trench?
They have a,
They can't use.
you explain that.
Sure, we have different methods of trench. It's not a, we wouldn't use what you would think traditionally. We do use a method commonly known as stitch board. We'll dig a hole every, say, 150 feet, and we'll go underneath either or place that tunnels. And then we can connect those pieces, put everything back in, and then continue down the street to get there. And then by the time we were done, you're not going to see what you would typically see. So that would be my guess is how we're going. You know, we haven't laid it completely out, but that's our go-to method for when there's greenery and green space, as long as we can do it without.
Yeah. And
You're talking about a wire the size of that. Yeah. So that would be the end of the poles. You know, when you get.
Back here? Yeah.
When you get the internet up, then that's the end of the poles.
Yep. Thank
And-
God.
we tend to be very thoughtful about how we build, and including such things as, you know, you see these ugly green pedestals every couple of houses down for other providers. We put everything in vaults at ground level. So they are, you know, these green lidded vaults which become invisible. And so you're not having yet another round of these ugly plastic green pylons everywhere. Yeah, it's aesthetically very pleasing.
John, you had a question?
I'm interested in time frame.
Pass it today, we'll be building tomorrow.
Kind of like getting within a mile radius of the center of town.
Our single biggest gating factor are permits to, what we call make ready and permits to be on the Central Hudson poles. We do not have all of the permits to deploy across Woodstock yet. We have some of them, and the downtown area, we will be able to serve very, very quickly. But some of, you know, and the areas where we're going to be underground, we can go because we have a state certification called a CPCN, or Certificate of Public Conveyance and Need, which allows us access to the state rights of way. But getting access to the pole, we don't have all those permits. Some of those permits have been in process for more than 300 days. It's a problem.
Trenching up Rock City Road.
I don't have that information at the top of my head, but possibly. Ma'am?
Fanny?
Yeah.
We can share.
Yeah. Actually, Melanie, if you want to just handle it. Why don't you hold on,
That's okay.
Sean, you hold on to it. and-
I came in late, so I don't know, have you done this in other towns?
Our group, frankly, all over the world. We built,
I know, but you.
yes,
you do here, that is in other towns.
yeah,
That
we
can go on.
Saugerty,
built 4,000
Saugerties.
miles from Corning to Salamanca. We're building it right now in Kingston, Saugerties, Rhinebeck, Warwick.
But they are not finished yet.
We're constructing, and some neighborhoods is finished, and as we progress across the municipality.
So which town there are already work?
Kingston, Saugerties, Rhinebeck,
Same
Warwick.
areas or
Not all, we're not done. We're waiting on permits in Kingston as well.
I'm sorry.
Saugerties, we're pretty far along. We started in Saugerties, and but we're still waiting on permits there to complete that project as well.
Okay.
But as soon as we get permits, we complete the build very, very quickly and move on to the next location.
Police, last question.
It's a multi-part question, but it's all pretty much the same thing. You mentioned a generator and a portable generator. So number one, is a portable generator going to stay there? And does it come on automatically? And do you have enough UPS duration power, uninterruptible power supply, that if the electric goes down, maybe you could power the thing for an hour or two until somebody can get up there and start the generator? What would a generator run on? Propane, gasoline, because it's going to be there in a closet or brought in. And also that's noise as well. And then the other thing is, speaking of a generator, so what is your expected or projected power consumption of, your closet there with the equipment, including, I guess you have a UPS and power conditioner to power everything, and the climate control. And then, of course, I guess your generator would be a bit higher than that to cover it.
Why don't we have Tom answer this question, because I'm about to put my foot in my mouth, I am sure.
This is yep, sure, I apologize. This is a standard electrical service. So just like your home, it's a 200 amp service that goes in. And we don't even need that, but it's a standard that they deliver for us. We would use a 30 amp breaker that takes care of our AC units and another 30 amps that handles all of our equipment that are in there. And we don't max that out at all. So that's top usage if everything was going. I think when you hear servers, I know you're thinking of server farms and everything. I just want everybody to understand this closet that we're talking about, we won't even be able to walk in. It's so small. It's
You open the door.
4 feet by 4 feet. We're going to put a door on the outside of the building, open it up and work on the equipment there. That's why we would never even be in the police station or anything like that. With the generator, that's would get trailered in. So it's not going to stay. We're not going to leave the generator hanging out in the back or anything. It'll be a gas powered generator. On a trailer, we would wheel it in. It doesn't even, it's not going to require a big one. We could use a 60 or 6,000 watt generator that we would wheel off the back, plug it into a plug that, just like at your home, there'll be an external plug to plug that in. The only time it's going to be used is if in the event we have a hurricane or, a serious power outage where it's down for hours. There is a UPS involved, and there's some battery backup that will give us that time to get the generator there and deploy, for when the power is out.
So let me ask a question to both you guys and the board. This is a concern because now we're talking about the internet for the entire town, potentially, or a good chunk of the town. Would it be possible, you guys are going to wire it with your own service, but would it be possible to pick a line off our generator and run it over, so that in the event you had a transfer switch that switched it over, and with the town, and we would have some agreements say, some fee, an hourly fee. If the generator comes on, you pay us $20 or whatever we think our consumption is gonna be. And would the town board be agreeable to something like that? It'd save you guys from having to send somebody up.
Let him talk
Yeah.
about fees.
You got a much better answer to that question than I would have provided, just to let you know. But yes, of course, we would love the option to piggyback on an existing generator. We would be amenable to, an hourly fee, a cost sharing, a maintenance agreement, anything that we can think of.
Okay.
I wouldn't want to stall this to do that. We would be amenable to
I
that.
think this would be a separate agreement.
Yep.
So in my mind, it won't stall this. We can move forward with this if the board's ready, and we can continue to talk about if the board's willing. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. One reason being because in that parking area, having a trailer taking up space in the middle of a storm isn't the best thing because that's a tight space for parking. So I would think that would be better to hook it in and not have to have a trailer sitting out there. And not only that, if you had a trailer sitting out there, now how do you keep the door open? Now you're not really secure. So it's a little tricky.
It's a
I can answer that. The plug actually, if you're familiar with the back of the building, the power is going to come in on the absolute back part of the building, not where the parking lot kind of comes in and turns. So the generator hookup will be over in the back between the back and I think the stream, or you have a little piece of woods there.
Which is right where our generator is.
Yeah, exactly. It would be on the outside wall of where your generator is. That's where the main power is going to come in. And then we're going to bring the power over to the closet from there. So even if we had to go the portable route, it would be over there. We realize it's a police station. We don't want to take up any parking when we're, with a generator.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
So as you described the trenching before, so my vision from what you've said so far is in terms of how you're servicing the town, you're going to have your fiber. In some cases, it may go on poles, and in some cases, it'll go down and be trenched. So it's a combination of what works best in the area.
Yeah, it's all sort of the art of the possible, I would sort of call it. If we can't get access, it's significantly cheaper to go aerial, but time to market is important to us as well. And so if, let's say it's a 20% or 25% premium to go underground, if you can't get on the poles, then you have to go underground. Or there are times where it could take so long to get on the poles that we would choose to go underground. But it is a combination of the two based on expediency and cost.
Well, I do know that they always say, like your gas line, make sure you know where it is before you dig. So if you've got fiber going underground, property owners need to know where it is because sometimes they're digging on their property.
There are very, very strict rules, what they call, call before you dig rules. And we play in that ecosystem with the gas company, the water company, the sewer, all of that. And there are different rules for different heights and where they are. And then we do something called calling in locates. So anytime someone is going to work in a particular area, you call this one call number and everybody who's there gets notified to come in. And that's where you'll see like flags on occasions, little plastic flags, or someone will put some water soluble paint on the street to locate where their facilities are. We operate in that ecosystem as well.
Okay. Alicia, last question.
Oh, it's just a quick question, maybe. This is probably more for the lieutenant board because I'm reminded there's a stream there. Is that in a flood zone, and how many year flood zone?
I'd have to get back to you on that. We do have a propane tank connected there, but that might be another good reason to go the route of letting them utilize our generator and working out that arrangement.
And that's more, that's
Our generator is in a building. That back corner where they're going to be attaching is, I think, a 10 by 10 room. We actually looked at that for them, but there wasn't really enough room to add their equipment. And now it puts them inside our building where we have stuff. So this was less complicated. So
And we were looking at another location in the general vicinity that was lower, and it was in the flood zone. And then we would have had to pour concrete piers, and it was a very expensive deployment, and also I think obtrusive because it would have just been putting a separate hut there. So I think this is by far a more efficient and more aesthetically pleasing compromise than that.
Okay. I'll offer a resolution. Be it resolved to authorize the supervisor to sign a leasing agreement with Archtop Fiber. And whereas the signing of a lease is subject to permissive referendum as it relates to Article 7 of New York State Town law, be it further resolved, the town clerk is directed to place the following notice in the official newspaper of the town on August 13th, 2024. The Woodstock Town Board adopted a resolution authorizing the signing of a lease between the town and Archtop Fiber. This resolution is subject to permissive referendum pursuant to provisions of Article 7 of New York State Town Law by order of the Woodstock Town Board. All in favor? Aye. So it is 30 days if we get a petition, but we're good to start to make plans. Great. Thank you for coming up, Sean.
Oh, guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Right. So I do also have on topics, the website and Town Cloud. I also have a resolution on there, but I don't know if you saw the email I sent to John. I only put that on there if we decide after discussion we want to move forward. If we don't, I won't offer that resolution. And we can decide how we want to continue. So I'll start down with the NULA. Any thoughts on the presentation we saw? And if you're ready to move forward, want to hold off?
Are we talking about both of them at once or one at a time?
Let's talk about the website first, and then we can go to TextMyGov second.
Yeah, so the town cloud, I'm okay with that with some caveats. One is the editor role I felt was really important in case down the road we wanted to have more than one person maintain the website and to control that. And as well, if somebody has a personal emergency, that they don't have to be made an administrator of the entire website. So I think that the idea of
Melanie's shaking her head. Is that? Oh, no. Okay. Okay. Go ahead.
The other caveat actually has to do with Melanie. I'm assuming that she likes the CMS and that it's easy to use. That if Melanie is the person who is going to maintain this as an administrator, that the administrator or administrators have looked at the content management system and they find it easy and usable. And my third caveat is that we're not forced into this white smack a picture on 3 columns. You know, a 3-column template is actually very flexible, and that we have creative ability within that 3-column structure to make our website uniquely Woodstock.
And you're not sure based on the presentation? You're not
I think they
convinced?
can, but I'm not convinced that they would do it for the cost that they provided
Okay.
it. So I know they can,
Okay.
but would they for the cost that they shared? So I think that's really important.
Melanie might have a reason.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that would push me into looking at a second one just because they're not. Yeah, because they, you know, it's not hard to change a background color in HTML or to make it again uniquely Woodstock rather than a stock website. So thank you. That helps me to say I would be interested in looking at a second one. And then
Sorry.
oh, and if we're talking about TextMyGov,
We'll come back to that.
Got it.
We'll go through and let everybody decide about
Yeah,
the
okay.
website.
So I guess I'm not recalling the cost of the website. So that's one thing I want to have a reminder of before finalizing decision. Melanie, you do most of the work on it. So I would really defer to your advice on it. And I think your advice, you haven't actually told me directly, but I guess I'm getting the sense that your advice is this improves us from where we are at a reasonable cost compared to other choices. So it is making things better. And so we understand, I thought it was an excellent presentation. it gives us a lot of flexibility we don't have today. We don't lose anything. My summary of the presentation was, we don't lose anything we have today, but we get some more flexibility on it. So once I get a reminder of what the annual, I think it's an annual price, you know, as you say, it's more price competitive than other choices. So I will probably be a yes, because I think we can live with I hear what Anula is saying. It would be great to have, in terms of editor role, what I recall him saying is, you either have one of two roles. You can either see everything on the site, or you can update everything on the site. So editor, we're probably going to give it to maybe two people, maybe a third person, just because it always needs to be a backup. So we understand those limitations, and we always worry about cost. So to get the world, if we have to pay a whole pile more, and sometimes it's good to do one step at a time. What I recall him saying is, we're not really hooked in to the future. So we're not hooked into a 5-year contract or a 10-year contract. We can try it out, see how it fits, and then decide later. So I'm believing I will be a yes, but again, I want to have a reminder of the cost. But I really defer a lot to you, because you do most of the updates. And so my sense is this is going to be a good way to go.
Okay. Do you guys have a mic?
Yeah, I didn't feel that there was any input from the residents of the town into what they used with the website, how they interfaced with the website. I felt like the step that was missed in this was that people were not asked to contribute either their opinions or their thoughts about what they would like in a website for the town. I understand that it might be a user-friendly site for the employees who are using the site itself, but I felt like there needs to be input from residents before we commit to anything from a new vendor on where people interface with the town. So I'm definitely interested in hearing more from people before we make a decision about whether or not we're going to go with this vendor or look to others.
So are you comfortable with this vendor?
I'm not.
Hold on, let me just finish. You're comfortable with taking this out to the public, or is your feeling this is not quite the right place, the right group, and we should keep looking?
I believe that what we need to do is hit pause and ask people who are residents of the town, what do you want in a town website? What is your opinion about the important things in a town website? How do you use the town website? And then take that information and decide, well, do we need to look further, or did this one vendor provide those things?
So you're not signing off on this one? Or, okay, I think I understood. Thank you. Maria-Elena?
I agree that we need to have input from the community. I'm not sure that this vendor is sophisticated enough. I don't know if there's a plan with dealing with the archive. So I'd like to see, who else can provide some information, another vendor, as well as getting input from the community.
Okay. So what I'm going to ask you two guys, I'm going to point you to a task force to set up a few public discussions to get a sense of what the public's looking for, what they like with our present one, what they don't like with our present one, and come back a month enough time, 6 weeks, 2 months? How much time would you like for that?
I'll get back to you on it.
Okay, thank you. I'm not going to go into questions with the public at this point, because we're not doing anything with this. It's going to be tabled. I won't be offering the resolution, but watch the website for when Bennett and Maria-Elena will hold their public discussions, and you can have a chat about that. Okay. Next, text my gov. So Nula, I'll start with you again.
Okay. So I actually did a little bit of research on TextMyGov and one other company. I still have open questions from them, so I'd love their contact info. I didn't see anything on their website around security. Some of I think they have a clean, easy platform. I like it from that perspective, and I support it from that perspective. However, because we are talking about two-way text, security becomes an issue and a question for me. And I'm hoping that they can answer that very simply. I know that some of their competition puts security right on their website. I didn't find it on theirs.
Okay, Laura?
Well, I didn't have an issue as I heard about it. I do think that having some kind of a texting way to go was a good idea. And it seemed that we might want to have two groupings of text, because we may want to have one grouping if we want to get the word out to everybody who is on the Woodstock water. We may want to have another grouping that if anybody in the town, like if there's an emergency or a storm, anybody in the town, we might not want to reach out.
So I do believe that we could have multiple. We could have water, we could have sewer, we
Right.
could have.
The full town,
The
so
whole-
people can
yes.
sign up for whatever that they
Yes,
wanted. So
That's a possibility.
So I, in general, I hear what Anula is saying about, well, if people are texting, you need to always set expectations. So if people know whatever you text, if everybody can see it, you need to tell people ahead of time. So I think it's, I think it's a good idea. And again, in some of these things, we're not locked in for 10 years. We're locked in for, say, a year. Some of these things, it's worth, if we think the price is right, it's worth going forward, I think, and trying, and then seeing what feedback we get, because we can move ourselves forward by, even though it's jumping in before we've done all the research we might want to do, if we do move forward, then we've got the benefit. And if we're not getting enough benefit, we'll be able to really understand it better once we have it. So I think the research ahead of time is great. But on the other hand, if we did move forward, we could say, hey, we're going to do this for a year, see how it works. That's another alternative.
Okay.
It could move us forward faster.
Perfect. Bennett?
I was concerned that this group did not provide the emergency services hookup and the hookup to the National Weather Service and others that are necessary, when there are also free services that townsperson Lori Felber
Yes,
actually
We did look at that today.
found that could be used for no cost. So I am definitely not for Text My Gov. I think we need to relook at how to do a texting service.
And my understanding, they're not hooked into the pause, iPause. So, but we can continue looking, as our other colleagues do. So, Maria-Elena?
I think we should also look elsewhere as well.
So I'm going to form another task force, and I'm going to put Laura and Anula. Well, you guys can have a conversation. We'll figure that out.
So we're on the looking at other alternatives to Text My Gov.
Well, look, answer some of the questions. Anula had a lot of questions.
So if we have a contact person, I'm happy to work with Melanie to each reach out. And then maybe we don't need a whole task force if security becomes a non-issue. Okay.
Thank you. All right, the last topic I had, I'm actually going to scratch that one off. I want to have a conversation with the town attorney, a brief conversation, and then I will reach out to you guys and give you a little bit more on that. So with that, let me get to some resolutions. Whereas the Climate Smart program requires that government operations climate action plan includes the results of local government greenhouse gas inventories, and whereas the town board by resolution 132-2024 accepted the 2023 governmental greenhouse gas inventory report, and whereas the Climate Smart program requires evidence that the government operations climate action plan is available to the public. Now therefore be resolved, the Woodstock Town Board hereby accepts the updated Woodstock government operations climate action plan and directs that the report be posted on the website under the title Woodstock Governmental Operations Climate Action Plan. And Ken's here if anybody has any questions. Questions for Ken? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Ken, thank you for doing that. Fingers crossed. Be it resolved to authorize the supervisor to sign the landfill monitoring agreement with CHA Consulting Inc., see attached. Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Be resolved to authorize the attached lease agreement with the Christian Science Church and the Good Neighbor Food Pantry, and whereas the signing of a lease is subject to permissive referendum as it relates to Article 7 in the New York State Town Law, be it further resolved, the town clerk is directed to place the following notice, official newspaper of the town. On August 13th, 2024, the Woodstock Town Board adopted a resolution authorizing the signing of a lease between the town, the Christian Science Church, and the Good Neighbor Food Pantry. Be it resolved, this resolution is subject to permissive referendum pursuant to provisions of Article 7 of New York State Town Law by order of the Woodstock Town Board. Any questions?
Well, just a reminder, so the signing of the lease is, just as a reminder, so the signing of the lease is, who owns the building? I mean,
The church owns the building. The lease is signed between us and the church, and then we sublease it to the food pantry. Does not cost the town. It's I think it's $2,000 a year.
okay,
Actually, the last year or two, I think the food pantry has paid them directly. I think the first year we got a check from them, and then we gave a check to the
yeah,
church.
okay.
But
So we're in the middle just to make things go more smoothly?
I'm sorry.
We're in the middle. So we're in the middle, but just to make things go more smoothly, that's why we're in the middle?
We're in the middle to make things go more smoothly.
Yay.
One of the other requests that I made was that we have a presence on their board. And Manula has volunteered to step up. So we do have a presence, just to be cognizant of what they're doing. Any other questions? All in favor? Aye. Whereas the Woodstock Film Festival is celebrating their 25th year, be it resolved, the town of Woodstock co-sponsored the festival by waiving the rental fees for the use of the community center.
Second, for the purpose of discussion.
Yes, discuss.
For the past 24 years, the Woodstock Film Festival has been the heart of Woodstock. They've enriched our community, and because venue costs are escalating, I'd like to propose this amendment to the Woodstock Film Festival resolution. If you could pass this down, please, to everybody. So this amendment, whereas the Woodstock Film Festival is celebrating its 25th year, be it resolved, the town of Woodstock become an official sponsor of the Woodstock Film Festival and disperse $13,000 from the town's unappropriated fund balance. And be it resolved, the town of Woodstock waive the rental fees for the Woodstock Film Festival's use of the community center.
I would second for purpose of discussion. I'd like to confer with the town attorney. This is what I wanted to discuss earlier on, but I'd like to have a little bit more information. So we'll vote on the amendments, but I would ask that we hold off until next week. So I'm a nay for making the amendment to the resolution. Okay. Can you guys wait on the second part until next week?
You can table the entire thing,
Well,
or
I'd like them to know that at least we're covering the rental fees, so that they, know that.
But can't that just be part of the whole thing? So can't we just table it?
I'm happy. Okay, table the whole thing then. They were eager to know.
I mean, they're eager to have a sponsor that can help cover the escalating costs. And the town of Woodstock has, for the past 24 years, not contributed money to the Woodstock Film Festival. And I figure if you give them $500 a year for 24 years, that's almost $13,000. So
You're going to give every group that comes money?
Bill, I'm going to give the Woodstock Film Festival that,
Okay.
and
Just
this
to be-
is their 25th year,
Just to understand.
as
so-
opposed to
so-
no groups.
So we want to table, or we want to vote on the the rental.
If you need more information on this, I mean, from an attorney.
Go back and take a look at what's left in the unappropriated fund balance, what else are we using the money for? Things need to fit in the bigger picture.
Okay.
Things need to fit in the bigger picture, in my opinion.
So I move that we table the amendment.
So table the amendment or table the
Table
original?
amendment, and then you just call for a vote on the table, and then we
Okay.
vote yes.
So we'll table the amendment and vote all in favor of the original.
Of tabling the amendment. I'm calling to table the entire amendment.
Okay, you said amendments.
Yes, table the amendment. This
Okay.
is the amendment.
So that was an amendment, but the other one is on the table, so you want to table it all. You want to table the whole resolution?
Yes.
That's fine. That's fine. Okay.
Yeah, and
So the
I-
entire resolution is tabled.
Was it, so what is Robert's Rules of Order, which I know we don't always
We
follow
don't
to the
follow,
T?
but I'm following.
But I mean, so
All in
you're,
favor of table?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Public be heard. Lynn, you have a few names there?
Before we begin, public be heard, I'd like to give a report on my conversation with JH Consulting.
Okay.
So this is a report on the PFO testing conducted by JH Consulting. At our last board meeting, after our meeting, I spoke to Jack Halstuck, the head of JH Consulting, the founder and owner of the company, which serves the town of Woodstock with water testing services, including the most recent PFOS testing on May 7th, 2024. At the beginning of our conversation, Mr. Halstuck said, this was JH's mistake. He made clear that the 2024 retest in May of this year, which initially reported no detection, was an error. The test did find that PFOS was present in the town's municipal water supply at the level of 2.39 parts per trillion. Mr. Halstuck explained that Larry Allen Jr., chief operator of the Woodstock water system, collected the sample and sent it to JH Consulting. He explained that this testing for PFOS was sent out of the JH lab for testing, and PFOS levels of 2.39 parts per trillion were detected and reported to JH Consulting by the outside lab. The error took place in the reporting from JH to Woodstock, and the error was not in the testing. Mr. Halstuck made clear that any PFOS in Woodstock's municipal water is not desirable because of the possible serious adverse health effects. He noted that 2.39 parts per trillion is not a state violation because it's below the current New York state level of 10 parts per trillion. He also noted it's below the new EPA recommendation of 4 parts per trillion. Mr. Halstuck was very helpful in outlining what other communities in New York were doing that he was familiar with, who have found PFOS or PFOA in their water. He cited to me 3 examples. In Hoosick Falls, a granular activated carbon filtration system was installed to clean the water. A new water line was also required to bring water from the uncontaminated aquifer to the village of Hoosick Falls. It's a very expensive thing that happened. In Fort Plain, the source of PFOS and PFOA was discovered and isolated. The village then took steps to use water that came from an uncontaminated source. And in Bethlehem, New York, quarterly samples, which is not a legal requirement, are undertaken with testing. I wanted to thank Mr. Halstuck for his refreshing candor and professionalism. And I also wanted to thank Larry Allen Jr. for providing me with the contact information for Mr. Halstuck, as well as for his explanations of the annual testing protocol and reports.
I agree. Larry's done an outstanding job. The town is presently doing quarterly. We have another test out with a different firm this time. And I expect that within the next, I believe it's 3 weeks, we should have results back from them. So as soon as we get them, we'll notify. What we did this time is that instead of testing both well fields, because one well fields is consistently tested okay, we tested the individual wells in Pump House 1. So we have still 2 tests out there, but we separated them. hopefully we isolate it down further between the two. But when I hear, you'll hear.
I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
Thank you for that update. And I appreciate the candor as well. I'm curious, in the discussion, did they mention how they found the error?
The error was made by JH when they reported it to Woodstock in their writing. However, there was an actual test result that they had that showed it said 3.9. And when those test results were transmitted to the Woodstock water, I believe that is when the redundancy was catching the error.
I think the number was 2.39.
Excuse me,
correct?
2.39.
So,
Which is lower than the last.
so was it their internal quality assurance process that found the error, or again, how did they find their reporting error? And my follow-up question is, so what process have they put in place to assure us that this error will not happen again?
Mr. Halstuck was very clear. He said this was their mistake. I did not ask him about what redundancies he might have to correct it going forward.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Bennett. Publicly heard.
Carol Sass is the first one.
Mike right there. Okay, I'm just going to remind everybody, 3 minutes.
Is that green? Make sure that's green. What? Is it green? Is it on? Yeah. Okay.
So Carol, just to be clear, when 15 seconds, I'll just give one of those, okay?
Okay,
Thank you.
and I'll ask you all not to be childish.
Thank you, Carol.
Okay, sir.
Go.
All right, I'm Carol Sass. If you don't know who I am, been in Woodstock for almost 50 years, been a town employee for over 43 of those years. 24 years as a police officer, and I still work as an emergency dispatcher. Last month, I came here to address the issue surrounding Phil Sinagra, and I want to correct a statement I made. I thought he was suspended, but I've been told that he's on administrative leave. I'm not sure what that means, but is he still a police officer? Does he still own a town-owned gun? Does he still possess that? Does he still have a badge and an ID where he can go around and say, well, I'm a Woodstock cop? He's permitted, or he has been permitted to attend the New York State Justice Department training as police officer, and he's been to 3 that I'm aware of. Although he performs no police duties, he's given a salary of 20 hours each week, and that's the sticking point for me. I complained last time I was here, hoping that at least that would end and let the lawsuits play out as they do. Apparently, he's still being paid, and it's been over a year, and I'd estimate that he's been gifted from our tax dollars between $30,000 and $40,000. That's a lot of money. Anybody want to turn that down if you didn't have to do anything? We're also paying to defend him in the lawsuit that his behaviors brought about. The town has the authority to terminate his employment or at least stop paying him, but he's still here and he's still getting paid. Do you have any intention of offering some kind of a golden parachute to lure him into resigning? Like, we'll pay you another 20 years if you quit. I kind of doubt that, Bill, but
You doubt that I have the plan.
what's that?
You doubt that I have the plan?
I doubt that you're going to give him a golden parachute.
Okay,
but
thank you.
I'm sure
Thank
you
you.
have a plan.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it.
Thank you, Carol.
We're still doing nothing though. Still paying him.
I can't talk about it, Carol. It's a personnel issue. You're a union person. You know how it goes.
Right. You also know that I'm a taxpayer.
Mhm.
Yep. And I have to go to work to get a check. I got paid last week. He got paid last week, but I had to go to work to get paid.
Mhm. Thank you, Carol.
Not right.
Give us back.
I'm gonna take your wire.
Thank you. Stephanie. So 3 minutes, and I'll give you one of those. Okay.
No, I mean, same separate from this, I just want to answer her question.
One question was to the council member.
Yes, well, why don't you, if you want to, yeah, if you want to talk about it outside.
No.
You ready?
During the election season and since, we heard a lot about just how nasty the tenor of the campaign was and how the atmosphere has continued. From my vantage point, the very people who proffered public and inappropriate comments are the ones who complain the loudest, and it has created deep divisions in the town. So I think it makes sense to have a discussion about what kind of critique is healthy and what is really just being mean. When you run for office, you hold office, you act, you fail to act, you create policy, and people have strong opinions about what you do or what you fail to do. When you go down the wrong road, it is incumbent upon each citizen to stand up, call it out, try for change. This is a critical component of good citizenship. Now, I'm sure that criticism of any kind stings, but if you get defensive rather than take criticism as an expression of the citizenry's desire to get what's best for the town, you close off, you can't hear it, you can't open your mind and potentially change course. You create a fiefdom where the citizens of the town are excluded, and that is not democracy. While criticism of any kind is personally upsetting, accepting that kind of criticism in the spirit in which it is intended is part of the responsibility of holding elected office, because true consideration of the content of the criticism can only improve the town. But when you get defensive and lash out against those who are appropriately critical of issues, you divide the population and make the town weaker and less than it should be. So in that spirit, I'd like to give some examples, and I'm sorry if this does in fact sting a bit. So when faced with environmental disaster and shady or serious sexual harassment, racial and gender discrimination, and a hostile work environment in our police department, Bill, you seem to have created a policy of non-transparency. You chose to bypass the town board and appoint yourself as investigator despite a conflict of interest that exists, because in each case, you have a long-term acquaintanceship or relationship with the accused people in each of those cases. In response to this inappropriate behavior, it is incumbent upon us as citizens to speak out, and that should not be seen as a personal attack. On the other hand, when you or your supporters call a political rival by derogatory nicknames or comment on their hair or other physical characteristics, that is not only inappropriate, but this wholly violates our own rules in the employee handbook. And those who engage in this kind of childish behavior should be sanctioned in some way. This isn't this isn't governed by the First Amendment. This is an issue of our town code of conduct for those representing our town, and you as supervisor and the rest of the town board should lead the charge against that kind of conduct rather than silently encourage it. Appropriately criticizing policies becomes the enemy, and that's apparent in what's becoming an institutionalized disrespect of fellow Woodstockers when you walk out and shut down town board meetings, which you've done at least 3 times, or threaten to call the police because you don't like what is being said about you. That is not okay. When citizens have taken the time and energy to come in person to a town hall meeting to inform the board of ongoing problems during the public be heard session, you can't pick up your proverbial marbles and go home. Even limiting the time is a disrespect to Woodstockers. We used to have town board meetings where we could talk until the issues were fully covered. But in 2 meetings ago, a 30-year veteran employee of our town wanted to have 2 more sentences on such a critical issues and was shut down, and that is not okay.
Thank you. That didn't sting so bad. Next, Chris. And a reminder, I'll give one of those.
Okay.
Ready?
The camera's back there, huh? Okay. Small Airbnbs are good for the town's economy. People love to stay in someone's home for an intimate experience rather than an impersonal hotel. Never mind the cost differential. Plus, it encourages more people into the area. And as Airbnb hosts, we recommend restaurants and other local businesses to our guests. I'm talking about the small owner-occupied Airbnbs run mostly by retirees who just want to earn a few shekels to offset our already exorbitant taxes. And you've just done a reval, so I imagine that they're going to go up. There are Airbnbs that are non-owner occupied and have become money mills with no affinity to the community. They are the ones you should be going after, not the little guys. But Supervisor McKenna seemed fit to levy a ridiculous permit fee on everybody. And the way it was done leaves a lot to be desired. The rise in permit fee was tacked on at the end of a package of town fees that was voted on by the board without them knowing it was there. And Supervisor McKenna made up the number himself without any public input or input from the Housing Task Force that was created to look at Airbnbs. The second such task force, since he ignored the recommendations of the first one and put a town board member in charge of the second one. This strikes me as not just a conflict of interest, but also a suspicious move on his part, as it seems he wants the task force to submit to his will. So he arbitrarily raises the permit fee and creates a task force that will do what he wants. I rent a room in my house and I make $250 a weekend. With a 20-week season, I make $5,000 if I'm lucky. My annual property and school taxes are $8,000. The IRS wants 20% of my Airbnb income, and now Woodstock wants almost 10%. Combined, that's practically a third of what I earn. When asked for the reason for the fee increase, supervisor said it was going into the general fund. That is wrong. A permit fee has to be justified and shown to be spent on what is being permitted, not going into some sort of slush fund. This is only one example of the supervisor acting without regard to due process. The mishandling of the shady dump and the sexual abuse in the town police are other examples. Several of us small Airbnbers got together and sent a letter to the members of the town board. They did not even have the decency to acknowledge receipt of that letter and instead sent demand letters to everybody for the new permit fee. This is not a town board that cares about the people. Rather, it is a town board that bends to the will of the supervisor.
Thank you, Chris.
Should only take 20, 30 minutes.
I'll give a tap at 15 seconds, or 15 seconds.
This will take about a minute. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to address the town committee and residents of this community. My name is Ken Wenger, and I'm the board president of the Woodstock Symphony Orchestra. Let me say that the intersection of talent and hard work meet. When they meet, magic happens. That's exactly what happens each time that the Woodstock Symphony performs its 4 programs on the stage of the Woodstock Playhouse right here in Woodstock. Classical music is an extraordinary gift that is paid for by the lifelong dedication each and every one of the 60+ professional musicians gives. What I mean, how far do we really get if we try to do everything alone? We rely on the help of many, and by the way, we stand on the strong shoulders of players and funders for going on, you ready? 45 years. Our mission is a costly one that is funded in part by individuals, businesses, and public money. It takes a village, and so I'm asking the village of Woodstock to help sponsor our concerts with a one-time annual gift. You ready? $750. I'd like to add that the town would receive public credit in our programs that will reach nearly 1,200 people and will also be featured on our website that reach thousands of people. Let me just add that I was inspired by classical music when I first picked up a violin as a child. It, in part, made me who I am today. By sharing in this continuity today, we keep the music alive. We inspire both children and adults in the most fundamental way. And lastly, I want to mention Bobby McFerrin. Everybody know him? Yeah. Okay. He said that we use all the rooms of our house, from the living room, the bedrooms, the basement, and yes, the bathrooms. We should all be listening and enjoying the great music we can listen to today. We have to listen to all the great music, from rock, jazz, bebop, American standards, Broadway, and my personal favorite, the great orchestral symphonies going back centuries. So I would really like some help. We're right here in town. I would accept $13,000. That would be great. But if we could start with $750.
So maybe we can do a joint resolution next week.
That would be lovely.
We'll chat about it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Marcel? We have our 5. We have our 5. No. Marcel's next.
So I want to talk a little bit about transparency. It's increasingly getting difficult to get information from the town through the Freedom of Information Law requirements. On June 6th, I requested all the legal invoices from the town of Woodstock for the period of March 20th through June 6th. I sent several reminders. At one point, I was told to stop. I'm not really late. On July 16th, what's that, a month and a half later, I finally received 3 vouchers for legal invoices. And I responded to that it was probably wishful thinking there were only 3 vouchers. In response, I got 12 more vouchers. How's that happen? The excuse was, well, there was no excuse for that. When I looked at those vouchers, I realized there were no vouchers for legal expenses regarding the police matter. I responded back that they were not included. And then I've been trying, I was told that if I wanted more information, I needed to file a new FOIL request. I didn't have the name of the law firm, so I polled the town board. Bennett Ratcliffe responded with the information I needed for the FOIL request. And I finally got the vouchers for the police matter today. 12 vouchers that couldn't have been provided under legal vouchers for some reason, and they totaled $28,000 or thereabouts, just for that law firm, Gervin and for Lazo. So to say I'm disappointed in the way the town's doing business is an understatement. And I think you got a lot of work to do. Now, the town board has been fully apprised of these FOIL requests and the lack of a response. I have 3 or 4 FOIL requests pending that are overdue. I hope I'll get a response.
Annie? Hold on. Now I'm gonna, look, Fanny, I'm gonna do that when you have 15 seconds left. Like that.
Okay, so I think it would be very, very good for the town if this meeting would be watched besides the YouTube on channel 13. And so I don't know if you have a technician here or your laptop can really get a DVD so that they can really or get one or connect a DVD player, with your technician to the TV so that they can, do a DVD. And so these meetings would be on the public access 7 days after this is done. Yes?
Would there be a way, or we shouldn't talk about it now, but
No, right. We'll talk.
Talk to me tomorrow about, is there a way to use a computer over there to do it?
Okay, well,
Okay.
let's see. So that's one thing. The other thing is that we have problem with the sound system on the TV station. So the TV station, it's okay, the sound, but the sound that goes to, I would like everybody that is here tonight when you go home, if you have a Spectrum, go to channel 23 and see if you have the sound. The picture comes all right, but the sound doesn't come or comes bad or something. So you can call tomorrow to Bill and let him know, because we have to tell Spectrum, I think that we would have a meeting with them, a public meeting with them, because there are so many people. The other day that there was a meeting at the you remember the community center, people were calling because they weren't able to hear it. Huh?
Couldn't hear it?
They weren't able to hear it. So it's very important, that a Spectrum really fulfills their, I had to call it Spectrum to my house so that they can change the box, because now everybody has new boxes, and so they are not good with the, with the town boxes. So there is a problem with that, with the Spectrum. So if we can talk with them so that they can really, fulfill their commitment to give us, because that's part of the Spectrum, to give us the picture and the sound. Okay, thank you very much.
I didn't have to do that. So the press that's here, I would ask you maybe if you're gonna put it in the article, or if you can mention on the radio that we have put out a request before, what Fanny's talking about, if there are individuals who don't get sound on channel 23, they need to call my office and give me their address, and then we can call Spectrum and have them verify what the issue is. So, we-
Had one more person that signed up.
oh, okay, hold on. Yep, reset the clock. It kept going. Michael?
The first thing is, my good friend David Menzies is going to be turning 90 years old tomorrow.
Happy birthday, David.
And I brought a card that I was hoping the members of the town board would sign, and I'm
wow.
going to bring it to Dave tomorrow. And I think he would be very impressed to get a card from everybody on the town board. So thank you. Thank you for that. The tree committee would like to be put on the agenda for the next meeting of the town board. And we want to bring forward a small change to the tree law that will allow us to qualify for DEC grant money. The current tree law is not strong enough in terms of protecting the trees that we plant, the new trees. And we have been told that in order to get grant money from the DEC to plant new trees, we have to have a stricter enforcement to protect the new trees that we are planting. So I'm not quite sure how this works, Bill. You know, it is asking for a change in the law. I don't know if you have to schedule a public hearing. I mean, we've never done this before, so I can.
So I'd be happy to sit down with you and walk you through it. Do you have the verbiage? That,
Yeah, it's coming from one of our members is sending me the final
okay.
draft.
I'm not going to put you on the agenda for next week, but let's shoot for September.
Okay.
And we can have the verbiage.
Yeah.
And then we could move this forward. So it's an amendment to our existing law.
Yeah, I just didn't know
Yep.
what kind of notices you need or any of that, but it's a very simple thing that we're looking to do.
But
so.
it is a process that will take a month or two to work our way through.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
But
That's good to know.
let's try and shoot for the first meeting in September to have a draft local law ready to go.
Okay.
So
Okay.
come see me.
Sounds good.
Thank you,
All right.
Michael.
Yeah.
Laura, you had a quick announcement?
Yeah, I did. Well, first off, Michael, thank you for sharing. David is a great Woodstocker, and thank you for bringing us a birthday card so we can all remember him. So today in the mail, I got my Woodstock Youth Center Task Force survey announcement, and also an announcement that the next meeting is September 5th at 6:30. So I've been to several of the Woodstock Youth Center Task Force meetings. They are a wonderful task force looking to see, they're being very open-minded, very welcoming all input from everybody who comes out to the meetings, and the survey is a way to provide more input. So certainly a lot of us do care about the Woodstock Youth Center, and they are looking at making it, focusing on senior issues as well as youth issues. They're looking to make it a center that really helps everybody. So I think they're doing a great job, and they have a great breadth of what they're looking at. So I hope you get a postcard too, and maybe I'll leave a copy. We can leave a copy with the clerks. So if you haven't gotten one, you can come in, and so everybody can be heard. They're looking to have everybody be heard. So be on the lookout. I got mine in the mail today. I hope you get yours soon.
Thank you, Laura. And with that, I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Good night, folks.